Look, I don't feel any differently. I talked about this before. I don't feel any differently about Florida than I did before that game. However, if they lost that game, it really would have gotten loud.
Yeah. Yeah, I think UCF will be a good test, and see how we go from there. You got to try to improve as the season goes, so hopefully our guys can do that. But defensively we need to make more stops.
Yeah.
I think if we can do that, we got a chance against most everybody.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We have a good show for you today. Coach Spurrier is going to join us. Robbie Andrew will join us, as we always do on Mondays. And then on Thursday, Tom Luganville, is going to join us. Can't wait to talk to him about what's going on in college football. And, of course, we have an open week this week, so we got a lot of things to talk about. All right, and let's get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five. Of course, we love the Gainesville Quarterback Club. No meeting this week, though, because of the open date. Next Tuesday, Patrick Young is going to join us. So if you want to go see Patrick, I know he's going to have books available. Great opportunity to see him and help him. Believe me, we all need to be helping Patrick and some other people. I've got my buddy at Nopal has been going through a lot of stuff, and I'm going to give some extra gift certificates away to people who win different things on this show because he gave them to me. He says, hey, help us get the word out. And again, his name is Jesus, and we are good friends. And anyway, I'll get to that, and we'll talk about that later. Let's get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five. And the first, I was trying to think about last week's show. Who was on the Gainesville Quarterback Club? Oh, Caleb Sturgis. He was great. Yeah, blanking out. This is what happens when you get old. You start forgetting things, like why you walked into a room. All right, let's get to the Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five. Number one, of course, the Gators won. Woohoo! Woo! They won against a Power 5 team for the first time since October of last year. That's not a good run. 7 straight losses, but they won. Okay? They won. That's what matters. They won the game. And their offense was very efficient. I mean, I thought they played really well on offense. I'll talk to Robbie about this later, but the Montrell Johnson block took away which I still don't think is illegal. But I'm sure that when they send that in to the SEC, the SEC is going to tell them, yeah, that was the right call. I still don't agree with it in theory. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is Florida went over 500 yards. They were able to do whatever they wanted offensively against a bad defense that has not been able to stop anybody. But they won. Mertz looked great. Lagway looked really good when he was in there, although the fumble was bad. Luckily, Austin Barber went honey badger on us and dug it out. I appreciate Austin. And Austin Barber gets he got Offensive Lineman of the Week in the SEC. Now, I don't know if it was because he got that ball out of there, but that was a huge play in that game. Also, Trey Smack's field goal was big because that made it a 3-score game. Game over. Now you're just playing backups, And so that was good. Anytime you go on the road in the SEC, it's good, and you get a win, it's good. I will say this, though. If you look, you could see a lot of empty seats here at the start of the game, way more as the game went along. They're not good. Look, we all know that. They're the worst team in the league. There's not any question about it. All these people that picked Vandy last, what are you thinking about now? And of course, I was one of them. But look, Mississippi State's not any good. Florida's pretty mediocre. That's what I took from that game. But it was good that it did feel a little bit like the South Carolina game last year, where Florida made the plays, Mertz made the plays to win that game in an offensive struggle, or there was no defense being played. It did feel a little bit like that game. But hopefully it wasn't like that game because Florida hasn't won a game since that game against a Power 5 team until this game. So they're bookends of very similar games against mediocre teams. I don't even know if Mississippi State could qualify as mediocre. That brings us to number 2 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is that I still don't see it getting better. And I still don't see – and look, I'm trying to be as supportive and as positive as I can be after a win. That defense is terrible. They can't stop anybody. Mississippi State had to make a bunch of penalties to halt their drives. They just aren't very good. They aren't good up front. There was one drive Mississippi State had where they went 65 yards and completed one pass, or threw one pass. I don't even remember if they completed it. Threw one pass, just ran up the middle. Just ran up the middle. So you still can't find wins on the schedule. You know what I mean? And that is the thing. However, at the same time, this offense can be that good. Now, if they play better on the offensive line, they played better in this game against not great defensive players. But if you can play well enough, you can get in a bunch of shootouts and win 6 games. And look, I'm sorry, but that's what Florida's shooting for this year is 6 wins after the start. Now, don't forget, we're a third of the season done right now as we sit here today. A third of the season, which is amazing to me that we're already a third of the season over. I always talk about how the season goes by so fast, and you need to embrace it and hold on to it. But I never do, and it always goes by so fast. It's weird. It's like I was sitting there on Thursday, and I was like, Florida plays in 2 days. They got the big game, and it just flies by. And part of it's because I think people like me stay a lot busier during football season than we do during any other time of the year. But we're a third of the season over, and they're 2-2. Now, ideal? No. In fact, I was hoping they would be 4-0 at this point. 3-1 would have been very acceptable. 2-2 is not acceptable, and that means you're going to have to win some games you weren't supposed to win. Now, I know that they got UCF in a week. They get a week off. Go play UCF in a week or play it at home. You need to find a way to win that game. The UCF's a good team. I think they're undefeated right now. And then you got to go to Tennessee, which looks like the best team in the country right now, and then play Kentucky at home. So somehow you got to go get out of that being 4-3, right? And then the grind begins, and you just got to find a way to win games. That's all I could tell you right now. Let's get to number 3 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is we found out about the SEC what we kind of knew already. It is very top-heavy. Of course, Georgia and Alabama did not play, but Georgia and Alabama are playing Saturday, and that's like loser leave town. But even the loser doesn't have to leave town because the loser's probably going, we'll just win all the rest of our games and then go play in the playoffs. But Tennessee looks like the best team in the country, in my opinion. I still don't have them ranked number 1, but they may be the best team. Let's just put it that way. They look really good in every area. Their quarterback doesn't have to do too much, but if he's asked to do something, he does it. I studied it Saturday night because you could see it on the back of his jersey. I am Lieva, I think it is. I am Lieva. Not to be confused with Ugalele or Tangaloova. Come on, man. What happened to Smith and Jones? Let's just get those quarterbacks in there. Anyway, they look legit. Auburn has no quarterbacks on their team. They should have won that game against Arkansas. And Sam Pittman survives because, it's starting to look bad for him. There is even talk about Hugh Freeze being on a hot seat. After, what are we in year 2 with him? He's only coached, 17 games, something like that. And they're already talking about him. Maybe they need to make some moves. Come on, man. But I tell you, the shine has gone off that star. There's no doubt. Oklahoma clearly has no quarterbacks. and they screwed that situation up badly. They had a young quarterback that was really good, and then he's not any good anymore. I just don't know about Oklahoma. The SEC still just feels really top-heavy. And when I say top-heavy, I'm talking about Georgia and Alabama. I'm talking about Tennessee. I'm talking about Texas. Ole Miss, yeah, I think so. I can squeeze you in as a fifth, but you haven't beaten anybody yet. So I got to see you go beat somebody before I'm going to really think about Ole Miss as being that kind of team. The rest of the SEC is just like watching people just knock each other off. I mean, that includes Florida. I ain't think it includes LSU. And so we'll get to number 4 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, which is the reason I say that about LSU, is they've already lost one player for the year for an injury. Emery is out for the year. But now they've lost Harold Perkins for the year, who is a legitimate All-American candidate. And I think he was an All-American last year. Really good player, and he's done for the season. So they're having some bad luck on the injury front. And that is why I can't put LSU in that top tier. I feel like there's 5 teams there, and one of them is probably going to slip out, and then everybody else is just like here, and they're way down here too. But then you'll also see a game like Kentucky hanging in there with Georgia, and probably could have beaten them. Vandy hanging in there with Missouri. That's why I don't have Missouri in that top tier, because Missouri should have lost that game to Vanderbilt. I mean, Vanderbilt got some bad breaks, but I don't think that much. The Missouri-Vanderbilt game felt a lot like the Florida-Missouri game last year. That's the last one of those comparisons I make. But it just did, because Florida should have won the game, didn't win the game, couldn't come up with the big plays at the end. They made a field goal, blah, blah, blah. I don't think Missouri's as great as maybe I think a lot of people thought they were. Anyway, all right, let's get to number 5 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club, starting 5. And, of course, Gainesville Quarterback Club is the place to be on Tuesday nights, just not this Tuesday night because there's no meeting because of the open date. But next Tuesday night, you want to be there to see Patrick Young, and you want to be a member of the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Matt Stinchcomb, Jacob Hesser. There's a lot of great guests coming in to speak to them. But number 5 is my man, Billy Horschel. And I'm going to – look, you may get tired of me talking about Billy Horschel, but I love Billy Horschel. He's a good friend, and he's a really good golfer. So on Sunday, I wander into Ironwood, and there were no carts available because the place was packed. This is where everybody goes to play golf now, is Ironwood. I'm sorry, but I'm not saying that negative towards any other courses, but it's the most economic, and all the students are going there now, and all the people go there with their dates. So on a Sunday, you walk out there at 12:30, and you're going, I'm not going to get a cart. So luckily, my friend Dave Johnston had a threesome, and I ran into him. He said, hey, come play with us. So I went and played 9 holes. Anyway, I watched Billy play the final hole in the playoff. I'd forgotten it was even on, but beats Rory McIlroy with an eagle putt on the last hole in a playoff. You can't do any better than that. Won 1.53. What's a couple $100,000 between friends? First American to win the BMW PGA Championship twice. Now, that tournament was part of the DP Tours over there. I don't even know where he played, to be honest with you. I couldn't tell you. But I'm just so proud of him and so happy for him to be doing so well. He is just an amazing guy and hard worker and a good human being. And I love him, and I'm so happy for him. I was like talking to people at the bar because I was waiting for a cart to show up, and I was like, hey, did you see what the, and most people are like, yeah, whatever, somebody won a golf tournament. Billy Horschel's our guy. And there's no bigger Gator fan on tour, actually in Gainesville, than Billy Horschel. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up, and I love him. All right, Billy, well done. And you should be on the President's Cup team, and you would do well for him because you're playing about as good as anybody. I'll go Scheffler, Schauffele, Horschel. Maybe the best 3 players right now playing golf. All right, that's going to do it for our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. We'll take a break. When we come back, The HBC will join us. Coach Spurrier will talk about the Florida game against Mississippi State, as well as some other games from college football this weekend. Also, Robbie Andrew coming up on Yes, No, Where, Maybe. All that and more on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Gator fans, football season is here. What's better than seeing the Gators back on the field? Easy. Seeing amazing speakers and fellow Gator fans weekly at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Held every Tuesday night of a home game at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Enjoy happy hour, great food, valuable insights from yours truly and Andy Staples, plus notable speakers throughout the season. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or visit thequarterbackclub.org. Or better yet, just give me a call and I'll get you to the right people.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And, of course, Meldon Law, also the sponsor of Coach Spurrier's appearances here on Mondays. We love Meldon Mondays. And, Coach, at least it was a win on Saturday. That was the biggest thing.
Oh, yeah, it's a good win. Our team played pretty well. Our defense still gave up a bunch of yards and stuff like that. But fortunately, we made a couple of goal line stands, held them on the 1 yard line a couple of times, and so forth. But, yeah, it was a good win. Graham Mertz obviously had a real good day throwing the ball. Lagway had a good day, too.
Yeah, I thought he did.
The whole offense played well, and we needed to because Mississippi State was tough to stop. You know, in a way, I feel a little sorry for Mississippi State because Ole Miss has a huge NIL fund.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're spending, but they're spending right there with Ohio State and Texas and all those schools. So they're and poor Mississippi State, I don't think they spend much. They don't have it to spend. So that's the way college football is nowadays. The schools that have the most money should be able to get the best players, but then again, the team with the best players don't always win.
They don't
know that.
always win, and that's I was nervous about that game right up until the point when until Smack kicked the field goal at the end. I'm like, okay, I can relax now.
Yeah.
But that is really not a very good team, Mississippi State, and I feel bad for them, like you said. Not only that, but that was a silly move to put Zach Arnett in that job, and of course he just totally demolished the entire offensive staff, and they were bad on offense from that point on, and he got fired after 1 year.
I think one of the announcers said they had about as many first-year players as we did.
Yeah.
I think we had about 55, but they had 57 or something like that. So, it's but that's what college sports is nowadays. You're free to go to the highest bidder, and most players do that. And anyway, Mississippi State's a good place. Trent Whittemore played some.
He did,
and he's a dang good player.
Creed did, yeah.
Trent
is at UCF. We'll see Trent next week. So.
Yeah. That's right. He's at UCF.
He's at UCF. So. Yeah. But yeah, Creed, he's a good player. Look, their offense was not their problem, but they did make some really dumb penalties that really hurt them, and that allowed Florida to kind of make some stops. But look, I don't feel any differently. I talked about this before. I don't feel any differently about Florida than I did before that game. However, if they'd lost that game, it really would have gotten loud.
Yeah. Yeah, I think UCF would be a good test, and see how we go from there. You got to try to improve as the season goes, so hopefully our guys can do that. But yeah, defensively we need to make more stops.
Yeah.
I think if we can do that, gosh, we got a chance against most everybody.
Yeah, they just and I don't think they're that physically bad on defense, but maybe they are because they don't seem to be able to stop the basic run up the middle. You know, that you're getting 3 yards when you do that at least. So that's where they've got to get better. But I mean, I don't know that you can get better at that. You know, there's no scheme. You can do run blitzes and everything, but I don't know that it's going to make a difference. We'll see as we go forward. But it was good for Florida fans not to have anything to be too angry about this week. You know, they were pretty happy after that game. I was happy. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, it was a nice win, and it seemed like a hot day out there. It's hot all over the country last week, but yeah, it was a good win for the Gators. Take a week off, recoup a little bit, get ready for UCF next week here at home.
Yeah. Now, how did you handle bye weeks? I mean, I don't know if you ever had two, did you? In a week?
Yeah, we usually just had one. It seems like we'd practice till Thursday, let the guys go home. A lot of them like to parade around their high school field on Friday night. Seemed like that was all over all the state schools. FSU players would do that, Mayhem and so forth. If your high school is in the driving distance here of Gainesville, we'd usually go Friday to Crescent Beach, come back Sunday morning, something like that. Spend a day and a half. And a lot of our coaches, we gave them a weekend off and sort of refresh and get ready for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I want to know if that story is true about you floating in the ocean with Bobby Stoops and saying,
week off, yeah. I may have said that, but I think they had a game that week. But that's just
fun. Yeah. That's just fun stuff.
It doesn't help you and it doesn't hurt you.
No.
If you go to the beach, I
will tell you what
one or the other.
What probably does hurt Gator fans is watching Tennessee play right now because they look really good.
Oh, their defense just stymied Oklahoma. Yeah, that was a sad offensive performance by Oklahoma, definitely. So, their fans are not real happy. But a lot of games left, and but at least Tennessee, their offense didn't really tear it out.
No,
in fact,
they
were sort of held in check pretty much also.
Do you think Bobby Stoops would ever consider coming back to coaching again?
Well, he's had a lot of opportunities. There's no question. I don't think.
And he coached in that
XFL?
UFL, whatever it was.
What is it now?
UFL, yeah.
UFL now, that's right. Yeah, UFL. Yeah, my son Scotty's out there coaching with him, so they're looking forward to it, yeah.
Well, it certainly was an interesting weekend. There was a lot of games where I was just freaking out about it. And there were obviously – Tennessee beating Oklahoma was one of the big ones, and now we're set up for because I'm not going to be able to talk to you before Georgia, Alabama on Saturday night, primetime game. That is going to be an electric atmosphere between those two schools.
Yeah, the way they've both played recently, you'd have to go with Alabama.
Yep.
It is at Alabama, but then again, heck, Georgia, they're picked number one. It should be a heck of a game.
Yeah, if you were ranking the SEC schools, I mean, the way I'll tell you how I would rank them. I'd rank Texas 1, and right now I would probably have Tennessee 2, and then Georgia, and then Alabama 4. Again, you could, but I mean, most of them are going to play each other, so it's all.
That's right. It'll all work out.
Yeah.
Tennessee had a huge win over NC State.
Which.
Guess what? Clemson had a huge win over NC State.
Boy, NC State looks bad.
And they were preseason supposed to fight for the ACC championship. So they've, I'm sure, been a disappointment to their fan base and their coaches and everybody else. So even though Tennessee clobbered them, Clemson did also. So you never know. Anything can happen in sports, as we know. All you got to do is watch those pro teams.
Denver, there's only 5 unbeaten teams right now.
Yeah, Denver came in and
Yeah, just
What was that final score beating Tampa Bay?
it's like 29-6 or something
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, they just dominated, and they were winless, and Tampa Bay was 2-0. So every Sunday, something, or every Saturday, one team can really play a lot better than the other team. That's
I
football.
think the Dolphins can pop the champagne pretty early this year for that undefeated, because I don't think anybody's. I mean, there's only 5 teams that are still undefeated. One of them's Pittsburgh, which eventually they're going to lose a game. The Chiefs always play one bad game, so they'll probably lose a game. I mean, I don't see anybody that's going to be going undefeated through the season, so they don't have to worry about that. Sad news also this weekend that Mercury Morris passed away, and he was one of my favorite players when he was with the Dolphins in '72.
Right. He was one of their best players. He and Larry Zonka.
Yep.
I think both of them gained over 1,000 yards.
Yep, they did.
And, it's all, we were talking earlier about the quarterback. Everybody in pro football, they got to have the quarterback.
right.
So the Jags give Lawrence the big money, $50 million or something, and he's struggling. And so we were talking the year the Dolphins went 17-0.
Yep.
Well, Earl Morrow played about the whole season.
He did.
Because Bob
Greasy got hurt,
sprained
yeah.
his ankle real bad. And then Greasy came back in the playoffs and played, I think, the last couple of playoff games, something like that. So, and so many teams win Super Bowls. The Tampa Bay Bucks, when they won.
Brad Johnson.
A year or two later, he was gone.
Yeah.
Trent Dilfer, Baltimore, when they won, he was gone the next year. So quarterbacks, in my opinion, they get way too much praise when the defense and running the ball still wins games.
Right,
You can win that way. Pro ball, college ball, anywhere. So, quarterbacks are important, but they're not. You don't have to have a super quarterback to win.
And that's what I was thinking about this because of what Tennessee did. Now I will say this: I don't think Oklahoma's got a quarterback on their roster. I mean, they're bad, but defense travels. And I know you had some teams that you could go into a game and you would say, if we can get in the 30s, we're going to win this game because our defense is not going to hold them up. And defense does travel. If you're good enough on defense, you'll be good enough on the road.
Well, it's helpful to have a very strong defense, certainly. It's you try to get everybody ready to play the best they can, and sometimes it doesn't always go your way, but sometimes if you can find a way to win when you don't play your best, that's when obviously you got a chance to have big seasons.
Right, exactly. All right, so Georgia, Alabama, who you got in that game? Who you think's
Since
gonna
it's
win?
at Bama, I would take Alabama.
Yeah, and Georgia offensively, that Kentucky game kind of stays with you, the way they played there.
Didn't I read where Kirby is 1-6 against Alabama, something like that? So they have been the two best, so Georgia and Bama the last several years. So it'll be a huge game.
It will be. There'll be a lot of good games this weekend, and we also have this weekend President's Cup. So we'll put that on one of the TVs as well. And one guy who's not at the President's Cup, and I talked about it earlier, but Billy Horschel winning again this week. I watched the end of it. He won the it's called the BMW PGA Championship. He's only the second American to win, or the first American to win it twice. And I mean, Billy Horschel is just killing it right now. I wish he was on the President's Cup team. But when I had him on the podcast last week, and he said, I knew I wasn't going to make it because I had a rough early part of the season, so that the points weren't there. But I'd rather have him than anybody on that team.
Yeah, he's hot right now. He's in a good stretch. Yeah, he would be wonderful. But who's the captain of our team? Do you know?
It's Jim Furyk.
Oh, Furyk is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I had to look it up, too. I didn't know. It's funny, the President's Cup just doesn't get that same level of excitement.
It's right in the middle of football season.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
But
even the Ryder Cup is, but it's such a big deal golf-wise. I think they should play the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup in the middle of summer. When nothing is going on and everybody wants to get excited about it. But they play it in football season when everybody's like, I may flip it over, if the Bucks game gets boring or something.
Yeah. Football, there's so many, it's on every channel.
Exactly.
I mean, you're bound to find a pretty good game, it seems like, all the time. So, did you see how Tulsa won last week?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I've never seen a game like that for people out there. They went into overtime, and the Louisiana Tech guy quarterback got hit
Yep.
and fumbled. And linebacker for Tulsa picked it up, and he's heading for pay dirt. Now, this is in overtime, so he has to score, or it's the same thing as him just falling right there. He's got the ball.
He could fall on the one. It's still the same result.
And, he legged it. He was going as hard as he could possibly. And a running back caught him on about the 5-yard line, and they both went right over the pylon. At first, they gave the Tulsa guy, the quarterback, the touchdown, and game over. Then they had a review, and they said, no, he went out that far out of bounds. So they brought it back, and fortunately, Tulsa got the ball and ended up kicking a field goal to win the game. So I asked my son, Steve, I said, is that the same kicker y'all had last year? It was a pretty good kicker. He said, no, he got some money to go somewhere else. So we had a tryout, and this guy here was the best at the tryout. So that's football nowadays. They move around. But, boy, that kid was a good kicker. I forget his name. But he made it in the clutch, and he made one right to end the game to get it into overtime.
Yeah.
So I said that kicker had to get maybe 2 game balls for what he did last Saturday.
Yeah, and Deion Sanders' team won on a Hail Mary to get them to overtime, which and you talk about how there's football on every channel. Steve, I've got 3 TVs in my office, and I couldn't keep up with it all. It was so much going on Saturday night. It was crazy, but they ended up winning that game at overtime. So it's just wild right now.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our Oxford Strong Moving Company presents the movers, and these are the teams that moved up or down in the AP poll. Missouri goes down 4 spots with a win. But Vandy, they should have won that game.
Oh, Missouri's been very fortunate.
Yeah.
Coach Drink has had some close wins, especially over us last year.
Yeah.
Making that 4th and 17, and then their kid made about a 55-yarder against somebody last year again.
Against Kansas State, I think it was. Early in the year, yeah.
It's impossible to win every close games, but he's won about all of them, it seems like lately.
Michigan goes up 6 spots in the poll because of that big win they had Saturday. And I the whole game, I'm thinking USC's winning that game, and then all of a sudden Michigan wins.
4th and 1, and somehow or another he took it in there. Yeah.
Illinois goes up 5 spots because they beat Nebraska. And again, same kind of deal where Nebraska couldn't hold the lead. Louisville goes up 4 spots. They had a big win. Oklahoma State goes down 6, and Okie does too. So it wasn't a good week for the Oklahoma people.
Yeah.
They probably aren't very happy. Kansas State goes down 10 spots. Also on the in Major League Baseball, the White Sox have now lost 5 in a row. They have lost 120 games this year. They have tied the Mets record. I think they're going to break it for most losses in a year. That's sad. Can you imagine having to cover that? And being a sports writer covering that team? All right, the White Sox lost again.
Yeah.
And obviously there are a lot of other games. San Diego has made it interesting with the Dodgers because they've won 4 in a row, and now they're only 3 back. So those are our Oxford Strong Moving Company movers, the movers. So everybody's moving. Now we'll see if the Gators can move in the right direction going forward. Nobody's really thrilled with the way you played the last 4 games, but you got an off week, and Billy Napier said, we're going to figure out who should be playing and who shouldn't be playing during this off week. And I think that's important.
Okay, they're going to have maybe a little inter-squad scrimmage.
Yeah.
Maybe a good idea to see who,
And so you can tackle them. So you can do these kind of
block, tackle.
I just don't know. I don't know what the answer is on defense, especially with Desmond Watson in there. And you're like, sometimes I sit there and I go, why do we have a 400-pound guy in there who can't move? Now, I know everybody says, he can move good for a 460-pound guy. And I'm like, I don't care. I want a guy 330 that can move, But he plays a lot. He plays hard. He does his best. But they just don't have that push up front. They've got to figure that out somehow. And I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, I don't have the answer either unless you just get more guys up there. Yeah. If you're having trouble stopping the run, play 8-man front. Then your DB's got to cover one-on-one everywhere. But stopping the run is the first thing you have to do on defense to try to win the game.
And that's what you do, though, when you get to that position where you have to have a lot of guys up there and they got to play one safety. And you know how to attack that, right?
Yeah, it is. All the teams are pretty smart about, crossing and all this kind of stuff now. So, yeah, you can't run man-to-man every down. There's too many picks and bumping into each other and things like that. In fact, that NFL game yesterday, I'm trying to think who it was, but they ran a crossing pattern and the two DBs ran into each other.
Oh, yeah. That was, I think it was a Ravens game, yeah.
Yeah.
Ravens-Cowboys game, yeah.
Was that what it was?
I think it was. I watched that too, yeah.
And the guy took it all the way down about the 10.
Yeah.
And then I think, I forget what happened to the rest of it, but the two DBs ran into each other.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So you don't, I mean, picks are illegal, but the ideal thing is to get the defensive back to run into a ref or run into his own guy. If you can make that right cut.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you're playing man to man, crossing routes should work every time in theory, right?
Right, right. Crossing routes are pretty good against it. But then again, those DBs, when they know you're going, they can get right on in your back pocket, as they say, and force a perfect throw. So
I saw a play last night or I guess it was just afternoon with the Cowboys where the wide receiver did this unbelievable move, cutting inside and then cutting back out, and I was like, I remember that play. I remember Quezzy used to run that play every once in a while.
I don't know. I would have put it in though. Yeah, he ran sort of a post, and obviously the DB's cutting him off, cutting the pass off, and then he took it back toward the corner of the end zone. It was like a little question mark thing. It was. I think he hit it for a touchdown.
Hit it for a touchdown. Yeah.
That was a good play.
I don't think my ACLs would hold up for that kind of move. Yeah. Though, but all right, Coach, you got anything else? I know
that's about it.
My man has been here signing autographs all day, and that's been kind of fun to watch. There's some really cool things, and we appreciate. I know that Martin Buckley, my good friend from
Jacksonville.
Palm Beach Autographs. Yeah, but he's from Jacksonville, and he's a good friend of my brother's of mine. So I know you. That was a pretty cool deal, and there's some great stuff out there. I can tell you that. I want to just grab it all and take it, put it in my golf tournament. Yeah. All right. Let's get to our Campus USA to wrap it up, Coach.
Okay.
Our Campus USA play of the weekend, and this I thought was beautiful.
Seam route.
The seam route with the tight end. It's a simple play, but it worked so well. And I mean, he just runs down the middle of the field. I guess it's the safety's fault, right, for not getting over?
Well, I think they're in a 3 deep, and the safety's supposed to be in the middle of the field, and he saw the throw. So I don't think they'd fault him. I think that guy on the 30 right there.
Yeah. He should have gone back with him. He should have stayed with him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
A little bit further.
Sure.
But that was a beautiful play, and that's. I mean, look.
Excellent play.
Yeah. They called it right. They drew it up right, and it worked, and that was fun to watch. So there was a lot of fun stuff with offense this weekend, and Florida's got 2 pretty good quarterbacks. Yeah,
it's interesting how after Lagway had that super game against Sanford, everybody's ready to put him in there, and now everybody's back. Well,
Mertz
is our man. He played very well, but Lagway played well also last week.
Yeah, and Lagway will be
maybe just keep playing them however we did last week. But then again, if one of them's clearly having a good game, I would think he'd play most of it.
Yeah, that's my only thing is I don't know that you needed to take Mertz out after he had driven him down for a touchdown. But, I mean, again, that's the coach has to have a feel for it. I mean, you had to deal with that where you knew how much do I put the guy in, at quarterback. And it's hard. I mean, you switched him out a lot, obviously.
Yeah, Jesse and Rex, I think, rotated in that 2000 season that we won the SEC that year. And I think he said on TV the other day, he said, when you're out there, if you do something real stupid, you're coming out and may not get back in. So when you got 2 that are really good, though, I mean, you got to play them somehow or another. If one is not playing real well, then the other one goes. And that's I mean, we won the SEC in 2000, and Jesse had 4 of the wins, and Rex had 4.
Exactly, yeah.
So it worked out.
Yeah. All right. We'll let Coach go, and we will be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, and welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. As always, we are going to our Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line to see our friend Robbie Andrew. And I'll tell you, I was out at Big Mills. Well, they had a thing out there like they did for our tournament where they were serving some great cheesesteaks and sausage dogs. Man, that was the best thing I ate all day Friday. But
their food is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's great. And we appreciate Keith Miller for being a sponsor of Yes Nowhere, maybe with the great Robbie Andrew. So we'll get right to it, Robbie. How about that?
Yeah, that's
Here we
fine,
go.
Pat.
Here we go. Number one, you are feeling differently about the Florida Gator football team.
Well, a little bit, Pat, because they won a game. So, and like people say, it's hard to win games, especially when you're struggling like they are. So I'm not going to complain about the defense or anything else. I mean, I let them enjoy their win. It was a great game for the offense, the quarterbacks. The worst thing to me was that call of the blindside block, which took away a Wes Chandler type play for that kid. And that was criminal. I mean, that was a great block by Montrell Johnson. Nothing wrong with it at all. I don't get it.
I don't clearly I don't know the rules about anything, okay?
No.
It was interference on Kyle Pitts in the Atlanta game, right? Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was unbelievable that they didn't call
he hugged
that.
him. Yeah.
He grabs him around the chest. And that all right, so blindside block is supposed to be if a guy is coming and
not
can't
looking
see
at him.
you. Yeah, but they're like face to face, and he hammers him. It's just a good block.
It was a head-on collision. It wasn't a blindside block of any kind.
And Aiden Mizell did. I mean, that was amazing. He had 2 touchdowns that he didn't. Yeah. He scored and didn't get credit for.
The one that reminded me of Wes Chandler against Auburn, Pat. We went across the field,
making guys move.
He needs to play all the time. I'm telling you.
But you know what? As soon as I saw the block, I said, "Oh!" And then you look for that little yellow thing down on the.
And there it popped up.
And there it popped up. I go, "That's coming back." And then as he's making the run, I go, "Oh God, why now? You have to make this great play. It's not going to count." But anyway, I think they still. Yeah.
So they know
look,
he's capable of.
I don't know the rules of college football. I don't know what a catch is. I don't know the rules of any football. I don't know what a catch is. I don't know what a late hit is. I don't know what roughing the passer is anymore. I
really don't know what roughing the passer is anymore, Pat.
No clue. No clue about it, but you just got to deal with it. But yeah, I'm like you. I feel better because they won, and if they didn't win this game, I don't know where the next one was going to come from. But the defense was so bad that it's hard to get excited about it going forward.
Yeah. But the thing is, they won a game, and now there's an open date. Everybody can kind of breathe a little bit, relax a little bit, and you let the negativity kind of die down here over the next week, and worry about it a week from now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
just
and
enjoy
I hope
the game,
exactly.
enjoy the win, and go from there.
Gators can't lose Saturday, right? They can't lose. There's no way. So
enjoy this open date and feel good about what happens Saturday.
I'm just going to enjoy all the good football Saturday without any possibility of being demoralized.
Yeah, that's always nice.
All right, number 2 on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe. Robbie, Tennessee will be in the SEC championship game after watching how they handled Oklahoma. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm going to say there's a strong maybe there, Pat. I mean, I would lean toward yes. But, they've got to get through Georgia still, and their schedule is going to be tough. But, also to me, Oklahoma was not that impressive earlier in the year, and their offense hadn't been very good. So in a game again, when you're playing Tennessee, you're going to have to find a way to outscore them. And Oklahoma was incapable of doing that. But yeah, I agree, Pat. Tennessee looked solid in all phases, and definitely looks like a potential championship or playoff team for sure.
Really good defensively. I mean, it's just and I mean, it's just incredible how well they played on defense. And I tell you what, that is a team that has taken NIL and the portal and the new tools that you have in college football, and they have taken them and they have run with them. And I tell you what, I think they may be the best team in the country, to be honest with you.
They could be, Pat.
I will say this. As we know, beat the crap out of NC State is what everybody's doing this year. So and Oklahoma, I'm with you, Robbie. I've not been impressed with Oklahoma all year.
No, especially on offense. Defense has been okay, but not on offense.
God, that offense looked awful. It was almost hard to watch. All right, finally, number 3 on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe. Robbie, you are worried about Sam Darnold's MRI today.
A little bit, Pat, because yes, I am. Because the poor guy has been through so much. And, when he ended up with the Vikings and what's-his-name got hurt, I thought, well, he's with a quarterback-friendly coach and a good offense with a lot of good players around him. Maybe this could be like a rebirth of his career, and it has been for 3 games. It would be a shame if now he gets hurt and gets knocked out of – because it's been a great story in the NFL so far this season. Here's a guy that it's a reclamation project, and he's been a great success so far. It would be a shame for him to get hurt now at this point when everything's finally coming together for him.
I think if I had told you before the season there would be 5 unbeatens right now, and Minnesota would be 1, Pittsburgh, which certainly didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Obviously Kansas City, Buffalo's, of course, they play tonight, so you don't know what's going to happen there. And I can't remember who the other one is. Anyway, there's 5 unbeatens. I think the Dolphins will be able to pop the corks pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, nobody's going to go undefeated this year, but I'm really happy about the Vikings being 3-0. Now just hope the MRI is positive.
Yeah, if it is, they'll be fine. I did want to get one more take from you, Robbie. Billy Horschel winning again this week.
God, he's quietly had a great year, Pat.
Wow, it's unbelievable how much money he has made. I mean, he got $1.5 million for that, and he got $600,000 for finishing 30 or 23rd in the FedEx Cup. He's killing it, man.
Well, the next time in town, he's buying drinks. Okay.
Exactly. That needs a. I was well. Anyway, I already talked about the other thing. All right, I'll let you go, Robbie.
Okay, Pat. I'll talk to you later. See you.
All right, see you, buddy. Okay, always great to have Robbie on the show. We love having him, and I'm trying to talk him into meeting me and watching the Alabama-Georgia game. I almost said LSU-Alabama game because that was always a game for a lot of years. It was the biggest game of the century. It's another game of the century. How many game of the centuries do you have before you have to end the century? I don't know how that works. But I was trying to talk him into that, but believe me, he won't be in a state by then. This open day used to be the most important day of the year for Robbie and I because it was the one day we could just watch football and have fun and do whatever we wanted. But now every day's an open day pretty much. All right, let's get to our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem moment. The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today. All right, so our Mayhem moment is right here. I was watching this game, Virginia Tech. Oh, there we go. I don't think you're allowed to do that. It's a safety, yes. You cannot be – I think he got tripped up by his own lineman, and then – what reaction is that? Throw it out of bounds. And the great thing is, if you look, I don't know if we can see this on this next time we show this. I think somebody catches it in the stands. No, you can't really see it there. But the video I had, I think at some point, somebody in the stands got a bullet pass right at him. So that was our Mayhem moment. This was Virginia Tech and Rutgers. And we appreciate Hugh Cain, Allstate, for sponsoring our Mayhem moments every Monday and Thursday, and we are enjoying that very much. Let's get to our Adams Ribco Gator of the weekend. And for me, I could easily have taken a football player, but there was something that I considered more important than that, and that was Alyssa Stuckey coming back for the Florida volleyball team. She came back on Friday, played a little bit, didn't start, started on Sunday, had 32 assists in her first start. I mean, again, they weren't playing a great team by any means. They were playing the Mississippi State of volleyball, to be honest with you. But just having her back on the floor, and because Florida's about to head into the meat of their schedule. This is the SEC. They're 9-2. They got a great chance to be have a good seed in the regionals and everything. But look, it's going to get really interesting. In fact, they've got, I think, Kentucky and Texas and next. Like, they play somebody this week, and then they play Kentucky and Texas. So, and they're both in the top 12, I think, in the country. So, but to have her back, I mean, look, I love watching her play. It's just watching a girl with this long red hair, flowing hair. It's just fun to watch. But she's such a good player, and now they've got, obviously everybody else healthy. So, it's time to crank it up, guys. Let's see what happens here. And but Alyssa Stuckey is our Adams Ribco Gator of the weekend, and she's been it before. I think so. I'm going on record and say I think she has been before, but she is again. So there you go. Free ribs. All you have to do is let me bring them to your to the volleyball court. I'll do that if she wants me to. I'll bring ribs over there because I'm a big fan of hers, and I think that her back on that team is going to make a huge difference. Let's move along to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks, and I do want to go on the record and say that on Friday I played golf with Kyle Cohen from Leonardo's, and all we did was win the Stop Children's Cancer Tournament. It wasn't intentional, but we got there and they go, yeah, seniors hit from the senior tees. They're all marked out there. We had 3 seniors on our team. I'm a senior. My brother's a senior. Mike Martin was a senior. Kyle Cohen had to hit from the back tees, but he had some great shots. We ham and egged it about as good as you can ham and egg it. I think we shot 15 under or something like that. We played really good. And there were no mulligans. We played really good and won the tournament. So Kyle was a major part of it. Let's just put it that way. He was a big part of it. Let me give you so our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks, and I tell you what, we're going to make a poll, I think, on Thursday. Yeah, because we're about through that time. We need to make a poll, and we're going to throw in some other stuff in there. I'll let you know about it later. In fact, I mentioned Nopal earlier. I'm going to get. I know that Leonardo's is our sponsor, but I'm going to throw Nopal in there, and you're going to have another $25 gift certificate. Again, I'm just trying to help my man Jesus out there. So this is a Thursday night game, and it makes you not even want to watch it. But it's Army giving 13.5 at Temple. So you got to think about it before you make that pick. Army is giving 13.5 at Temple. Army's got a good team this year. It's at Temple. Look, this is the pick I'm giving you. There's not much else going on this week during the early part of the week. So we'll give you I tell you what I was thinking about for for Thursday's show was giving them the President's Cup as one of the things, but I don't want to do that. No, they'd have to think about it. All right, that is our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. Thanks again to Kyle for just being there. He's always there, and we had a blast Friday at that tournament, and Kyle was a big part of that. All right, let's move along to our Hesser and Kipke three things. Of course, Hesser and Kipke, a Gainesville firm here for your needs in family law or workers' compensation. Call or text Ken and Jennifer 24/7 at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke, nearly 50 years of combined legal experience and about to celebrate their 5th anniversary in January. Hesser and Kipke, man, it's going to be January before we know it. We're going to have to change that up. It's going by fast. Anyway. All right, number one on Hesser and Kipke's three things. We talked a little bit about the Alabama-Georgia game. I'll talk a little bit more about it on Thursday. And it's a big deal. 2 versus 4, I think it is, whatever, at Alabama. Alabama has not been a home underdog since 2007. But they are for this game. Now, I will say this. The spread is 1.5, and it could change. People, like Coach Spurrier picked Alabama, and there'll be people that go. But I tell you what, if Saban was still there, there's no way they'd still be an underdog in this game. However, I think Kalen DeBoer is a great coach, and I think they have a good team. I have no idea. I have no feel for this game at all. But that is your thing to have to figure out probably on Thursday. But anyway, they have not. The last time was in 2007, and you know what? That was Nick Saban's first season. Because I can always remember that because I remember in 2006, we are sitting at in the press room of the championship game, national championship game, Florida and Ohio State. And we're sitting there, we're waiting to go for interviews, and Saban has his press conference to accept the job at Alabama. And I remember thinking, oh man, this is really, I don't know what's going to happen here. The next year, of course, they lost to Louisiana Monroe. They were an underdog. And of course, from that point on, they took off. But last time they were home underdogs was in 2007. So they are home underdogs, but who knows if they'll be home underdogs when they kick it off. Let's get to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke three things, and that was the weird deal with Mac Brown on Saturday. Now, if you watched any of that game, and I did watch a lot of it, to be honest with you, because I just wanted to see if they would get to 100, James Madison beat North Carolina 70-50. 70-50. That is not good. 70-50. Giving up 70 points is never good. When you're giving it up and you're a Power 5 team, it's really bad. After the game, he went into it. He told his players, maybe I'm not the guy for this job. Maybe I should get out of here. He's very emotional. I felt like Andy Lopez was being rechanneled because Andy used to say that once a year. Maybe I'm not the right guy for the job. Finally, they told him he wasn't the right guy for the job. But he was the right guy for the job. He did a great job. I'm a big Andy Lopez fan. And I'm a big Mac Brown fan, so it disturbed me to watch that game and to watch what he said. But then he came out and he says, no, I'm not leaving. I'm not resigning. I'm just mad. I'm upset. I'm emotional. It's fine. We're good. But it was really interesting because at one point there was a headline that was Mac Brown may leave North Carolina. I'm like, what? Well, they're not good on defense. They have not been good on defense for a long time. They are worse than Florida on defense over the last 4 years, and that is saying something. I bet you they are the worst Power 4 defense of the last 4 years, and Florida would be second worst, probably. But I don't know. I don't want to look it up. Finally, on our Hesser and Kipke three things, it's time, babe. Let's go. It's Mets Braves. If we can't win 2 out of 3 minimum, it's over. We've got to try to sweep them, but I'm only worried about winning the first game. I always get mad at Jeff when he goes, I'm looking for a sweep this week. And I go, you win the first game. Jeff Cardozo I'm talking about. Win the first game. Because I remember he was saying that going up to Missouri and they got swept. But I'm not saying we got to sweep them. I'm just saying win the first game. The only way you're getting the playoffs is if you at least win 2 out of these 3. But win the first game. Mets at the Braves. It's in Truist Park. We're 2 back. I just want to get into the playoffs just to give me something to watch. Mainly because we're not winning it all. I mean, we got a good team, but we're not good enough. Anyway, that is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's move to our swamp games of the weekend. Tonight, you have and now again, I know a lot of people listen to this show on Tuesday and even Wednesday, but tonight, if you're listening on Monday, you have a doubleheader. Jacksonville at Buffalo is 7:30 on ESPN. Buffalo, of course, one of the 5 undefeated teams still, and the Jaguars need a win badly. I don't think they'll get one. Washington at Cincinnati is 8:15 on ABC, so you got a doubleheader tonight on Monday Night Football. I'll be watching. Both games on. Thursday, Dallas at the New York Giants, 8:15 on Prime. Now, I'm not recommending you watch this game. This is just a game that's being played. The Giants stink. Dallas, I don't know what is wrong with them. They screwed up everything in the offseason. I listened to the guys on First Take today, and they were going on and on about that. Whatever. But anyway, that's the game being played is Dallas at the Giants. And also volleyball, 7 o'clock on Thursday at Oklahoma. Now, that game is you can only see it on ESPN+. I will watch it. I get ESPN+, so that is at 7 o'clock on Thursday. Also, Tuesday baseball. You have a couple games on Tuesday. Baltimore at New York Yankees at 7:05 on TBS, and then San Diego at the Dodgers. That could be a big game. That game is at 10:10 on TBS. I'm going to go on record and say I will not be up to see the end of that game. If I am, that means something terrible has happened in my family, and I'm in the emergency room and it's on. That would be the only way I could possibly watch it. That's too late for me. But that is there's a lot of stuff going on. Don't forget, we'll give you all the deets on the President's Cup and all the games that are coming up on Thursday on our Swamp Restaurant games of the weekend. If you want to come out Thursday of next week also to see us, we are out there on next Thursday. So come out. We were out there this past Thursday. We had a great time out there. We'll be out there next Thursday. Don't have to do it because of the open week. We love doing it. In fact, the reason we were out there last Thursday, I said, I missed 1 week. Let's go to the swamp and do it there. It's just way more fun to do it there than anywhere else. Well, more fun to do it there than the studio because they offer us beverages there. All right, so those are our swamp games of the week, and you got a lot to watch this week and a lot to watch this weekend. That is a good place to be watching it. Let us finish up with the 12, brought to you by Steve and Christine Wendig. Of course, from Boss Hart Realty. We appreciate them for being a sponsor. And Christine and Steve do a great job for Boss Hart Realty. And these are the 12 teams that I would have in the college playoff if it ended today. And number 1 is still Texas. Barely hanging on to that number 1 spot. But I still think they're the best team. Tennessee may be the best team. They're number 2. They have taken over number 2. Georgia 3, Miami 4. So those are the 4 that would get the buys right now if it was me. Ohio State 5th, Alabama 6th. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of changes this week. Penn State 7th, Oregon 8th, Utah 9th. I probably have them too low. Oregon Oregon. Utah, the defense they were putting on Oklahoma State was incredible, and then Oklahoma State made it interesting at the end, but I think they let the foot off the pedal. So Utah's 9, Oregon 10. Got to have Michigan Wolverines in there at 11. And I was trying to think about this because I don't like Lincoln Riley and I don't like USC, right? And I think my hatred for USC, it's not real hatred, goes back to the Pete Carroll era when they were so good and they were dominating and you're rooting for the underdog all the time, so you were rooting against them a lot. I like Pete Carroll. In fact, I rooted for the Seahawks when he was there a lot. I'm weird. I understand that. But I couldn't make up my mind during the Michigan-USC game who I was rooting for. So when Michigan got ahead, I started rooting for USC, and then USC got ahead, I started rooting for Michigan. So I wasn't rooting for anybody. But anyway, Michigan, very impressive game. They're number 11. And number 12, Missouri, you barely made the playoffs because that was not an impressive performance against Vanderbilt. Easily could have lost the game, but you didn't. But you won. And still haven't beaten anybody, but you're undefeated. Good job, Missouri. All right, that is it, isn't it? I'm looking at all over my sheet. Have I covered everything? I got that. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. So thanks a lot for joining us. We always enjoy you. Don't forget Tom Luganbill on Thursday. We can't wait for him. We're still working on some other guests coming up. I know Brett McMurphy's going to join us. I'm pretty sure Danny's going to join us. I know. Well, I've got to call into his peeps, and I think he's going to be joining us soon too. So anyway. Thanks to Zach for doing an amazing job as he always does here on the show, and we will be back on Thursday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley for another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios saying I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.